G'day and welcome to another video. In today's lesson we will learn how to make this Scraptastic bag. I've used approximately 200 grams or 7 ounces of yarn in this. I did use worsted weight. It's a very easy project. In this project I've used half double crochet stitch and the single crochet. So let's get started on the lesson. You will also need a G or a 4mm or 4.25mm crochet hook. This is for the top of the bag. When we put like the border on the bag, you need a smaller hook than what you are using for the main section of your bag. So the main section of my bag, I'm using a 5.5 or a H and an I size hook. You're just going to want one that's smaller to give it a nice neat finish on the border. For our supplies, we're going to need heaps of scrap yarn. I've got various different colours. I've got lots of little scrap balls like this, so I'm going to be using those for the tutorial. A pair of scissors, a yarn needle, my engagement ring's turned around, a yarn needle with a big eye, and a crochet hook to go with your yarn. I'm using worsted weight yarn, so I've got a 5.5mm hook. You can use any yarn that you like. So putting our bits and pieces aside, won't be using that dark colour in the video because you won't be able to see it. Which one can we choose? This one looks good. I'll get rid of those. Now this bag, the width of this bag can be adjusted very easily, and that is by the amount of chains that we make. So the chain that we make is the base of the bag, so it's the bottom of the bag, and it's also the width. So make a slip knot. You can make your slip knot however you make yours. There's plenty of different ways. And we're going to pop that on our hook. And we are going to make a chain. You don't have to count your chains if you don't want to. Maybe if you wanted to make an identical bag, you can write down how many you make. Now I'm just going to show you a little sample. I'm not going to do the whole base of the bag because I actually made the bag when I was sick, so I've actually made the whole bag. I'm not going to make the whole bag again, so I'm just going to show you the base. But you're going to make your chain the width that you want your bag. So the bottom of my real bag is approximately, I would say, 14 inches across the bottom. So this chain here is where the bottom of our bag is going to be. So I've got about 14 inches. That's probably about 35 to 40 centimeters. So you're going to make the chain the width that you want your bag. Then what we do is I use the half double crochet stitch in that bag. You all know that's my favourite stitch. You could use the single crochet and you could also use a double crochet. But in this video tutorial I'm going to use a half double crochet, and we're going to work one half double crochet stitch into the second chain from the hook. We don't count the one that's on our hook. This is number 1 and that's number 2. So yarning over, going into the stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through. We're going to work one half double crochet in each chain stitch along. And by having a smaller chain starting with this sample, it's going to be easier for me to show you. I won't have to keep stopping the video. So I'm going to work all the way across. Now of course you don't need to use scraps for this project. It was just a good way to use them up. So I'm coming up to my last stitch. Into my last chain stitch, I'm going to work 3 half double crochets. So that's 1, going into the same stitch for 2, going into the same stitch for 3. Then what we're going to do, so we've just worked along our chain like that, we're going to turn it around and we're going to work down the other side of the chain. Now there's a few different ways that we can do this. We can work into the chain space, so we've just worked into there, so the next one is here, and work our stitch. But I find this creates a hole like that, and I personally don't like that. So what I do, instead of going into the chain, I go in between the 2 stitches that are down here. So see this hole here? That's where I work my stitch. So yarning over, going into the gap between the 2 stitches and working my half double crochet. Yarning over, finding the next 2 stitches and going in between those. Same again, going in between the next 2 stitches. And that gets rid of the hole that is created here. I mean, you're going to have these gaps because this is the gap between the stitch. And I have a feeling that this is not a 5.5mm. No, it's actually a 6.5mm, but that doesn't matter for your project. You will be using a 5.5. So your stitches will be a bit tighter. Just looking at that hook thinking that's not a 5.5. But that's okay because this is only a practice bit for me. You will have the right size hook. So we're working across in between our stitches. Coming up to the last couple, so we can work into there. So we can still work in between there. So that's our last stitch. This is our chain, that's our last stitch. This is our second last stitch, so work in between there. And we're going to work 2 more stitches. Sorry, 2 more stitches. So that's number 1, number 2, altogether we'll have 3. Number 3. So we are not going to join our rounds. We are just going to keep going in a continuous spiral, which makes an awesome project because you don't have to worry about joining at the end of the row and remembering where it is. So into the next stitch, which is here, half double crochet. And in every stitch from now on, we're working 1 half double crochet. Now, if you want to make the bottom of your bag flare out a little bit more, I'll show you what you can do. So on the straight side pieces, it's 1 stitch in every stitch. But if you want to make the sides of your bag flare out a little bit more, when you come to the stitch that's on the end, you're going to work 3 stitches into them. So going into the same stitch 3 times. And what this will do is make your bag flare out at the ends and will give your bag a little bit of width. So the more you expand that out, the more rows you do an increase like that on, the wider the bottom of the bag is going to be. So in every stitch around after that you do one, and I'll just continue to the end of the other end and show you what you do there. Can you hear that noise? It's a cockatoo flying over. I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up though. They're noisy things, they really squawk really loud. Okay, so we're going to whiz along to the end. So when you get to the other end, you're going to pick the stitch that's on the end of the bag. Okay, so here, and you're going to work 3 into that one. Then every stitch around, we're going to work 1 half double crochet. And then, like I said, for as many rows as you want to make that increase on the ends, you can. And see how it's made it increase out at the ends, so you're going to have a wider base. And it will start to look like a little boat. Isn't that cute? Now this is actually inside out at the moment, because when you work around, mine does naturally curl up. But this bit here that's facing you is the outside of the bag, so you actually have to flip it like so. So the boat shape, you'll be working on the outside of the boat shape. So continue on for as many rows as you want. And now in this bag, because it's a continuous round, when we join our yarn, I'll show you how to do that now, there will be an obvious join. But I think in this pattern, it actually makes it. So let's find my bag. Let's find where some colours are joined in. See, you've got some colours joined in there. And here. This one there. And I think in this pattern it gives it a different look to just plain stripes, which I think looks quite cool. So to join a new colour in, what we do is we yarn over and go into the stitch, pull up a loop, and normally you would yarn over there and pull through all 3, but we leave those, drop the colour we're working on, grab the new colour, just lay it on top, and I just pinch it at the back and hold it, and then pull through. And you can cut the old yarn, so the old colour, cut off about 2 inches. I normally make sure that's about 2 inches. I'm going to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. See, it's real life. I am real. So then we yarn over, go into the next stitch. And I'm working over my 2 tails, so I'm laying them on the top of the stitch like so. Yarning over. Going into the... get it? Yarning over, going into the next stitch. And sometimes I find that the loop at the top here can be a little loose, so what I do is just pull that a little bit, just to pull that in, and then just pull on that a little bit to do the same thing, just so it's snug. You don't want to rip it really tight, or it'll look funny. So working with your new colour, and you're going to work over your tails for at least 1 inch. I normally do about 2 inches. So there we go, that's your new colour joined in. So continue on for as many rows as you like. I have got, what have I got? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. I've got 31 rows, and I didn't count them as I was going. I just thought, yep, that looks big enough. So I got 31 rows, and like I said, it's about 14 inches wide. Let me just grab the camera off the stand, and I'll show you what it looks like so far, if I can. There's the light out the way. So there we go. Even all my mess that you never see on camera. And that's, see all my colour changes? I think this, it gives it like this staggered look. I think that looks quite cool. Gives it a bit of variation. So this is the top of my bag. And I finished off my colour. Oops, and I've accidentally pulled out some stitches there, but that's so good. I'll put them back in. I finish off my colour on the side, which is what you want to do. So I've laid it flat. See how it lays flat? And then I finish my colour on the side. You can finish it over this side, doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter where we finish it off, okay? And then we are going to work onto our handles.